Chapter 3. Get it out! Get it out! Startled by the shout, the wet dog standing beside the boy began to bark. The noise rang around the church. What are you thinking? Bringing an animal into the church? It's raining, said the boy. The dog shook itself and water drops splattered them both. Don't you like dogs? Isn't it bad enough to have bugs eating away at the roof without having wet dogs too? I like boats, interrupted the boy. The carpenter scowled down at his last carving. It's not a boat, you ignorant child. It's an ark. It has no sails. How did it go? It didn't have to go. All it had to do was float. The dog suddenly lay down, like a collapsing sandcastle, its eyes glistening and its ears cocked. Now, two of them wanted a story. Too many boys were making a nuisance of themselves. I expect that was half the trouble. As the world filled up with sons and granddaughters and great-great-great-grandchildren of Adam and Eve, it got worse instead of better. In fact, God decided he had been wrong to create the human race at all. The earth crawled with wickedness, like when a flying ants swarm. Noah was different. A good man. He kept his tools clean, kept his conscience clear. God liked Noah. Noah, said God, a flood is coming. It will wash away every living thing, wash the earth clean again. But you and your family are my friends. I wish you no harm. Do exactly as I say. Now, this was a dry, hot part of the world, a long way from the sea. And when Noah's neighbors saw him building a ship, they snickered and held out their palms and squinted at the sky. What's the ship for, Noah? Expecting rain? Noah's Ark was huge, 3 decks and a roof over all. Why so big, Noah? Expecting visitors? Snorted the neighbors and scrawled on the hull with lumps of chalk. Then the animals started to come. Lions and lynxes and leopards. The neighbors stayed away after that. There were warm-blooded and cold-skinned beasts, furry and feathered, smooth and scaly. There were crawlers and leapers, gazers and scavengers, wild and tame. There were creatures with names, and ones so odd that only God knew what they were called. Inside the ark, they shifted, whined, and gibbered. There were males and there were females, one of each. There were butterflies and even birds. Why birds, God? Wondered Noah. Surely birds can fly into the treetops when the flood comes. But when the flood came, there were no treetops. Rain fell from the sky like a waterfall, uprooting trees and boulders and towns. Noah's wife and family went aboard the ark and shut the doors. The darkness inside was warm with animals, sweet with animal breath. Things skittered unseen across the floor. Rain thudded on the roof. The neighbors beat on the hull. Let us in! The rivers filled, burst, joined. The distant sea came ashore. The ark grated, rolled, pitched, spun, and was washed away like a coconut carried out to sea. Inside the ark, the animals blinked at Noah. The drumming of the rain wiped out every other sound. The tarry planks kept out the daylight. Aboard the ark, day and night were the same color. The animals slept and woke. The smell was soon as thick as mud. Only after 40 days and 40 nights did the rain stop. But when Noah lifted off the hatches, he saw only sun and sky and water. There were no treetops, not even any mountaintops. Litter floated by, a shoe, a basket, a wooden spoon. The wet ark steamed. The water dimpled. Bubbles rose. A fish jumped. The only sign of life. It was the beginning of the world again. Somewhere in the ark, a blackbird started to sing. Weeks passed. The ark stank. The elephants stayed away, swayed listlessly from foot to foot. Now surely the flood must be drying up. "Fetch me a raven," said Noah. The raven cruised out over the water, its reflection like a black fish, but it found nowhere to land. Next, Noah sent a dove. But after a while it returned. It had found the world still underwater. 7 days later, Noah sent the dove again, and when it came back, it held in its tiny beak a tiny olive twig. Somewhere, an olive tree must be poking its branches through the shining water. Next time Noah loosed the dove, it did not come back at all. With a grinding shudder, the ark ran aground on a mountaintop. The animals growled, bellowed, squealed, chattered, spat. Noah's daughter-in-law stroked her round stomach. Her baby would, after all, be born on dry land. New life in a new world. The water and the sky and the breeze and the light whispered, "Never again." What mud squelched under the hooves of a horse that pricked its way across the sodden ground. "Now we must get things right," said Noah, "or next time." Suddenly, it was as if the sky remembered color. A great triumphal arch of streaming color bridged from sky to horizon to horizon. "Never again," whispered God. "Never again will I drown the earth." And he signed his promise with the world's first rainbow. The rain had stopped. Sunlight streamed through the stained glass windows and cast a rainbow over the wet dog. So, Noah must be Jesus' ancestor, right? Because there was no one left after the flood. "That's what some people say," muttered the carpenter. "So Noah must be your ancestor too, come to that. And mine. That makes us relatives." Now, wait a moment. "Did people do better the second time around?" asked the boy. "Not so's you'd notice," grunted the carpenter, who went back to carving the waves beneath his oaken ark. "Was that God's rescue plan then?" asked the boy. "You said he had a rescue plan. Bit drastic. Wipe everybody out and start again." No. Well, yes, but no." The carpenter looked confused. "In the long run, God was planning to send Jesus. That's the rescue plan I was talking about." But the boy was busy with his own thoughts. "Were there bugs on the ark, do you think?" "Definitely not. Pershing little pests." "There must have been, or they wouldn't be here now," said the boy. "Get that dog out of here and don't bring it back. I don't know what things are coming to. Dog in the Lord's house, indeed."